Do you see this? See, what would you say, which kind of word, term you would associate C, and especially with hope, like why you choose it?
When we think about the letter C, we think about the climate.
Mm-hmm.
And the changes in the climate that we've caused as human beings by creating so much energy. And this is a crisis. It's called the climate crisis, and it really is a crisis. And it's probably the worst crisis that we face now. It's worse than the virus,
mm-hmm.
worse than the plague.
And do you see any hope turning around?
I do see hope, because we know what to do. We know what to do.
Yeah.
And we're doing some of it, but we've been doing it too slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And there were too many people who don't believe in it, or say they don't believe in it.
Yeah.
But something that the virus has done, it has discredited people who refuse to accept the evidence. You know, there are a lot of people who have been saying there is no virus, it won't do us any harm, we don't need to wear masks,
mm-hmm.
and they're dying.
Yes, it's the same in the UK, right? We have this. Yeah.
You have to accept what science tells you. It's not a fairy story.
Mm.
Science is pretty much always right about these things, and science is right about the climate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hope that now that the virus has taught us this lesson, I hope we will start doing everything that we need to do about the climate.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. So I would take this here, and then the new one, letter is E. What kind of term?
Like equality.
Yes. So
all human beings say they believe in equality. Equality for men and women, equality for different races, equality for people of different religious beliefs. Everybody says they believe in it, but sometimes we act as if we don't believe in it. And it's a very serious problem. The world that we live in today is so interlinked, so interconnected, that we can't have different groups who hate one another.
Mm.
Our world doesn't work like that anymore. You know, a lot of animals that live in tribes, if they reject any stranger. You know, a pack of dogs, a strange dog comes along, all the dogs will attack the strange dog until it runs away.
Mm-hmm.
But that's animals. We can't live like animals. So we have to welcome strangers, because once again, that's the way the world works. We must have equality. This is a very personal thing for me, particularly the situation of African Americans.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a spectator in this issue. Some of my family are African Americans.
Oh, really?
So when we talk about trigger-happy cops, police officers,
mm-hmm.
shooting African Americans, it's my family that's in danger of this. So it's an issue very close to my heart. This has got to be solved. We can't go on the way we've been going on. We've been turning a blind eye to the way police officers behave.
Mm.
By the way, it's not just in the United States. The British police are racist. The French police are racist. I don't know if all police forces in Europe are racist.
Mm.
But it's a very common problem. It's not just an American problem. And it's got to stop now. Just got to stop.
Yeah, that's true, I would say also. So the next term would be F. What do you associate with F?
Well, you mentioned earlier my friends Lee Child and Kate Moss and Jojo
Yeah.
Moy. And we, last November, we made the Friendship Tour.
Yeah.
And that was because all four of us have millions of readers who read our books in other European languages. And we're very pleased about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're proud that so many people read us in translation. And we still feel that Brexit rejects our neighbours. Brexit says to our neighbours, we don't like you, we don't want to be in your club, we're okay on our own. And the four of us felt that was wrong. And so we went on this tour to say to our readers, we still love you. We're not rejecting you. Please don't think we're rejecting you. We love you, and we hope we'll continue to be friends
Yeah.
as long as we can carry on writing books.
That sounds also very hopefully.
Yeah.
So, how many language do you speak?
Oh, I only speak French and English. I learned Welsh at school.
Yeah.
Because I'm Welsh, but I can hardly remember any of it.
All right. So next term would be L, like?
Literature.
Yeah, that's easy, no? So which impact does literature have in terms of hope for tomorrow?
Well, literature is how I've spent my life. And the thing about literature, novels in particular, but also plays and sometimes poetry, what literature does is it enables us to share the thoughts and feelings of people who are not like us. So a man can read a novel about a woman and the way she feels about things. And that way, a man's imagination can be made to understand that person. We read novels about people who live in different parts of the world, people of different nationalities to us, people of different religions. We read novels about people living in a different period of history from us. That happens to be my specialty. And so reading literature exercises our imagination in this way. It makes us empathetic with other people. And I think reading imaginative fiction makes us better people. Because if we're more empathetic, we're better. And so I think the growth of literature, the growth of literacy, the fact that more and more people are reading, more and more books are being published, more and more books are enormously popular, huge bestsellers. The fact that people read a lot is a hopeful sign for the future.
And I also read that, especially in the pandemic time, that more people and especially more kids are reading what I've just read. So it actually had a good impact, even if it's not a nice thing in general, but...
As I said, the price is too high. The price is too high. I want people to read more books because they love the books, not because they can't.
Because they have too much time, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, next term, M, would be for you?
Well, it has to be music.
Yeah.
And I don't know if music's very hopeful. My favorite kind of music is the blues, and that's the opposite of hopeful, isn't it? Blues is always, life is terrible, I'm so poor, my girlfriend left me, she's fooling around.
Heartbroken songs. But how does music help in times, in these times?
Well, I'm not sure how much it does. I just love it. It soothes the soul. It's something that people do together, of course. A lot of people really enjoy that. It's a bit dangerous at the moment, but in this country, I bet it's the same in Germany.
Why it's dangerous?
A lot of people belong to choirs.
Yeah.
And in Germany, it's very popular.
Yeah.
People love singing together with 20 or 30 or 40 other people.
Yeah.
It's a lovely experience. And they can't do it now because they give each other the virus. But we hope that will come to an end and they'll be able to do it again. Yes, the great thing about most music requires more than one person. Of course, when you play the piano, you can play it on your own. But when I play the bass guitar, it doesn't sound very good on its own. You do it with other people. And the fun of it, the fun of making music is also harmonizing with people.
Yeah.
And harmonizing with other people in a general way is what we have to do.
Yeah, more harmony. But I also saw, I don't know when it was, maybe in March or April, the opera in Berlin, because I'm from Berlin, and they did a Zoom also conference with all the opera singers together. And then that was very impressive, actually, because I would say that to harmonize in this kind of technical way is very difficult, I would say. But they just nailed it, and it was really, really nice. So you get very creative in these times, I would say. Okay, the next term is S. What is it for you?
Well, I think,
What would
I think it has to be stop racism.
Yeah.
I talked about this before, but, and you know, I like to talk about starting things, not stopping things. But racism has to be stopped.
Mm-hmm.
It's corrosive, it's poison. Racism is a poison in society, and we have to get rid of it. We have to stop living like this, and we have to live together as equals, everybody.
And how important is like books also in this kind of term, like to stop racism? Would you say there's a connection?
People who are racists think that certain other groups are different from them. They say, I'm this. Those people are different because they're black, or because they're Jewish, because they're Chinese. They're different from me. And literature teaches us that they're not. That at bottom, people are all the same. People have the same hopes and fears. Everybody is worried about the same fundamental things. Everybody worries about love and marriage and family, money and work, violence and war. These are the things that everybody in every country, every race, both genders, all that, everybody worries about those things. And literature teaches us that we have all those things in common. And the things that divide us are really very superficial.
Yeah. So we are just a big world. And yeah. All right. So I have how much left? So you like what kind of term you associate with?
Well,
you?
I guess what we have to say, well, I would want to say to people, is that you have to do something about all this, because most of us in our civilization, in Western Europe, North America, we live in democracy. And things like racism only happen because we let them happen. It's up to us, you know, we vote, we choose who our leaders are. If we have bad leaders, it's not the fault of the bad leaders, it's the fault of us. And so in the end, it's you are responsible. Nobody else can change things. In a democracy, nothing can happen unless there's a popular movement in favor of it. So that's it. The responsibility lies with you.
Yeah. So will you say, will mankind join forces to fight the problems of our times in union?
Yes. That's a different question. You know, in the letter U is pronounced exactly the same as the word Y-O-U. So I've been talking about Y-O-U, or in German, Z.
Yeah, Z,
not
yeah.
the letter U.
Yeah.
So we have a little language difficulty.
Ah, okay. Sorry. Yeah, no. But now we're on the same thing. Yeah.
And yes, unity and union. Yes.
Yeah.
We have to work together. That's how we get it.
But you answered it before, like the about unity and to support each other and everyone. So I would say that's the term unity, no?
Yes.
So yeah. All right, so the next one we're almost finished is why? Like?
Well, we talked about that. Let you.
Ah, so I was faster. Okay, you were faster than me. All right.
I jumped.
No problem.
We should go to the next area.
Okay, so the next or the last one would be H. I guess this is pretty easy for you.
H for history.
Yes. Is there any hope that we can draw from looking back at our history?
Yeah. Yes, I think tremendous hope, really, because when we look back, we see, and I write about this all the time, we see people fighting for their freedom. My last book, A Column of Fire, was about people struggling for religious freedom in the 16th century, the terrible wars of religion in the 16th century. I've written about the suffragettes who demanded the vote for women. Now, when the suffragettes began that campaign, men had been in power for 10,000 years, and they did not want to give the women any power. But the women fought that battle, and they won. And the thing to remember is that we often win political battles. Being involved in that kind of campaign can be terribly discouraging. People argue and march and protest for years, and they say, I've been doing this for 10 years. Nothing has changed, they say. People become discouraged. But if we look back in history, and we look back at people who fought for freedom, we see that actually, again and again, people won these battles. They won, you know, the battle for religious freedom in Europe was won. And you and I can now go to church. We can be Protestant or Catholic, or we can go to synagogue, temple. We can be Buddhist or Muslim. And the government is never going to say to us, no, you can't. Now that freedom was won. In the 16th century, it looked as if people would never be free. Even the people who wanted to be, who rebelled against the Catholic Church because they wanted to be Protestants, as soon as they got in power, they stopped people being Catholic. And it looked as if, and so a cynical person would say, nothing has changed. But it did change in the end. And the women won the vote.
Which is, yeah.
I know that women are still fighting for it.
Yeah.
It's not equality yet, but they won the vote. They fought that battle. And against all the odds, they won it. When we fight political battles, we can win. That's the hope that history gives me. And you've got to remember that there's always a backlash. So, you know, there will be, we made great strides in the 60s. There was, certainly in the UK, and I think in most countries, there was a law saying it's not, there used to be a law saying it's a crime to be gay. That law was abolished in the 60s. In this country, we brought in a law that said you cannot pay women less than men for doing the same work. That was a crime. Okay? You can't do that. So, and then at the end of the 60s, there was a backlash. 1968, Martin Luther King was assassinated. Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. We got Richard Nixon for president. And we all said, I was a teenager, we all said it's all over. We're going to lose everything that we've gained. But we didn't lose it all. All that, though, that liberal legislation, the permissive society of the 60s, it didn't go away. We did win those battles despite the backlash. So I think the hopeful thing about history is that it shows that the good, in the end, the good guys do actually win.
Well, that sounds very hopeful, yeah. I mean, would you say that especially the new generation now, like the youth who is protesting on the street, like Fridays for Future, because I often hear that there are parallels between the 16th movements, like as you said now, and to the new generation now, because they're standing up for very global things like the climate crisis, for example. Would you say that we have like kind of the same area, the same movements like in the 60s, but just for now. So in, I don't know, 10, 20 years, we are saying, yeah, these young people, they fought for big things and they did it happen.
Yes, look, when I talk to my granddaughters about what it was like for women in the 60s, they sort of don't believe me. They say, well, you know.
How old are they?
In their 20s.
Oh, okay.
They say, when I say, you know, in the 60s, a woman could not get a loan from the bank unless she had the signature of either her husband or her father. The girls say, are you sure?
Yeah.
I'm sure I was alive.
It's a big joke, no, yeah.
All that. And of course, the reason why that isn't done anymore is that their mothers and their grandmothers fought. But they don't know, and that's okay. It's okay, because they take that for granted, and they look at society around them and they say there are some things that are wrong here. There are things that are unfair here, dangerous and wrong, and they march against those things. Their own issues, not my issues. My issues are dealt with. It's in the past now. You know? And they have new issues, and thank God for those young men and women, particularly women today, who are very fierce about certain things, and they're angry.
Yeah.
And they see the world ought to change, and God bless them.
Yeah.